we wanted to do what we saw what was going on with the EPA, especially, and some of the environmental regulations being rolled back. And so we're like, well, we certainly can get in touch with our Congress people, but what can we do in our own little corner of the world?
Welcome to Zestful Aging Podcast, where I speak with changemakers from all over the world, from every walk of life, who will inspire you to live with zest. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, and my mission is to bring you optimism about aging and help you make full use of the new opportunities that only come at this stage of life. And to find out more about this podcast, hop on over to zestfulaging.com. Well, one of the many joys of being a podcaster is that whenever I run across a zestful ager, which is often in my town, I can invite them on the show, and it's a great way to meet people that look interesting and fun. Recently, I was at an Earth Day celebration, and I noticed a group of unmistakably zestful agers, and I just knew I wanted to introduce myself and get to know them. They had that dynamic postmenopausal energy that I've really come to recognize and enjoy. So, a side note here, I've been very sad about the state of the planet's health, and I know many of you are. 2 years ago, we experienced the Canadian wildfire smoke, which literally turned our skies in upstate New York a weird orange, and it was scary and bizarre, and it made me feel so hopeless. And I just asked myself, like, what can I do about this? Well, today's guest has spent her life promoting environmental stewardship. She's part of a local organization called UCAN, which is all about building community around environmental advocacy. And I love this group especially because it's not a formal nonprofit organization. It's actually a group of concerned citizens who have organized to address some of these pressing environmental issues. And if they can do it, you might be inspired to do this too in your community. This is true grassroots in action. Welcome to the show, Mary Bartlett.
Hello. Thank you for having me on your show.
I am so happy to be able to speak with you. And I knew when I was at Earth Day, I was like, these women have that like energy, that focus. And I was really drawn to the group. So I'm so glad that, you agreed to share some of your work with us. So I love off mic. You started out saying, well, I just came from a walk in the woods, and that is like my therapy. And I just wish it wasn't so cold, but we do what we have to do here. Well, I'd like to start because you talked about this when we met, and I was so interested to hear, and I think our audience too, is like, tell me when you first started appreciating nature and the environment. When did this take hold?
Well, I actually, as a little girl, I grew up in a neighborhood. One side behind my house was a stream, and then the houses on the other side was a woods.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of our time as kids either, turning over rocks in the stream or, catching tadpoles or whatever, or hiking through the woods. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, that's like one of my earliest memories. So I've always been, out in the nature. And our house right now, the house I live on, that my husband and I built together, is on an 8-acre woodlot. So it's great to have that access and see
Yeah.
what wildflowers are coming up. We've got nettle coming up right now, which is an edible actually, and
Mhm.
a lot of violets and trilliums and foam
Mm.
flower, and I
Mm.
could go on and on. So yeah.
Yeah, I can hear your love. I also have the love for Trillium. You go out and you appreciate them, and then they're gone.
I
Yeah,
know, I know. I
quick,
think they're
quick.
getting past now.
Yeah, they are. So this was really instrumental in your appreciation, it sounds like, for nature. Were you one of the only girls, or was this a girl and boy equal opportunity being out in the woods on the out in
Oh
Syracuse?
my gosh, it was all the kids in the neighborhood. I
Mhm.
mean, no, I was not the only girl. It was,
Mm.
and it was back in the 60s. I mean, in our neighborhood, everyone had a passel of kids. Like I was the youngest of six. And then, people had eight, and another one of our neighbors had 13. And, it was just a mob scene. I mean, we were, playing kickball in the road and running
Very
through the
different.
woods, and yeah, yeah.
Hard to
So,
imagine no screens, right? You
oh
you had to
heavens,
entertain yourself.
I remember when we first got our first TV. So that was the first screen, right? I mean, I was in grade school. It was a banner day, let me just say.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So, you have this appreciation, and as you're growing up, did you follow that sort of academically, or how did that take hold of your the direction your life was going in?
As a teenager, I remember when the Cuyahoga River went on fire. I don't know if
Mm,
you remember the river in
mm,
Ohio
mhm,
in the late 60s. And that really, I was just like, wait, what? There's a
mhm,
river on fire. And I started really becoming more and more aware of the environmental issue. And then in 1970 was the first Earth Day, which I didn't go to, but I followed it on the nightly news with Walter
mhm.
Cronkite,
Oh my
and
gosh.
was it then the last Whole Earth catalog came out as I got older, and my husband and I lived off the grid for a while when we were first together. We had a house with no electricity, no running water, a big
Mm,
garden, so we were kind of really embracing the whole homesteader thing. And
and this was in
just,
the Syracuse area, or were you out?
yeah, it was in Hubbardsville, New
Mhm,
York, which is east of where we are now in
mhm.
central New York. Not very far away. I mean, it's like, 40 minutes or so. But it really,
You embraced this. You really, I mean, it really became part of your identity is
well, and then I went to college and got a degree in horticulture.
mhm, mhm,
And my husband and I got married, and we moved to Ithaca because he went to Cornell to
mhm.
the ag school. So, it's always been, and he's a farmer. So it's always been environmental, agriculture, gardens,
Mm,
growing things, uh, just really connected, kind of the understanding of the interconnection of all things, right?
mhm.
And that's really what. And I can't say I've done everything. I mean, in my career, I've done a lot of work with people and nonprofit programs and coordinating programs and events.
Yeah.
So, but within that, it's always been nature has always been a really big part of the programs that I've done.
Mhm. Yeah, I can see that. It's really runs through everything you've done. Hey, hey, Zesties. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one feeling tense and anxious these days. Every day it seems like there's more scary news. Well, I've been a psychotherapist for over 34 years, and I've learned a lot of techniques to help manage anxiety, and I've been using them. But recently, I found something new that I wanted to tell you about. I actually just stumbled upon it at an event for veterans. It's a little breathing device called Calm Ego. And when you're breathing in a way that promotes relaxation, which is basically long exhales, it lights up. And you can add a calming scent if you like. So, Calm Ego is a natural, portable, drug free solution that can be used in moments of upset, anxiety, and stress. And it's effective and pretty unique. And you can use it for both immediate relief and also long-term effectiveness. So I love that you don't have to think about the breathing, you don't have to count, you don't have to imagine a square. You really don't have to do anything. It does all the work for you. I find it to be especially helpful before bedtime, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm partnering with Comigo to offer you a 25% discount if you use the coupon code Zestful at when you're cashing out on the site, which is Calm Ego, CalmIgo.com. And please let me know about your experience. I will be interested to hear. Thanks. Have you, over the years, is there a community of people who are like minded that you've been a part of?
Well, certainly now the UCAN group, the United
Hmm.
Climate Action Network, we came together in 2017 and 2018, and kind of as a offshoot of concern about the way the country was going politically,
Hmm.
and we were concerned about defunding and cutting of programs in the EPA
Hmm.
because that is so crucial for the health of the environment
You're
in the
talking about
United
like
States.
clean air and all these kind of
Yeah, I mean the
basic things that we need.
Clean Air and Clean Water Act was signed actually by Nixon, believe it or not,
Oh, wow.
back in the 70s. You know, Nixon was really kind of an environmental president. Say what you will about him
Right.
with,
Well, he's a Quaker. I wonder if that had something to do with it.
yeah, so we, the, we wanted to do what we saw what was going on with the EPA, especially, and some of the environmental regulations being rolled back.
Mhm.
And so we're like, well, we certainly can get in touch with our Congress people, but what can we do in our own little corner of the world? And that's when we came together and created UCAN,
Mm.
just to like, so our mission, I mean, as you said, we're grassroots.
Mhm.
And I feel like I shouldn't be the only one speaking. I mean, there's so many people in the group who are so knowledgeable, but I'll be the little
They
spokesperson for
voted
us.
for you, Mary.
Yeah,
They
they're like,
elected
yes,
you.
Mary. Yeah. But I mean, we educate and we coordinate programs. We did coordinated and planted trees in partnership with the Stone Quarry Hill Art Park in Cazenovia. Um, We've had water quality monitoring programs for Cazenovia Lake and environs. We've had soil testing for farmers. Um, the high school now has an environmental club that kind
Wow.
of grew out of some of the high school kids' relationship with UCAN and getting involved with us. And
Oh,
then
I
they're
met
like,
met some of those
Yes, yeah,
students. Yeah, they.
yeah,
So let me ask you, because I really want to get down to the nuts and bolts for people listening. Like I did a couple years ago and looked up in the sky and thought,
right,
"Wow, I don't even know what the words." It was just terrifying to see
yeah.
the color of the sky. Um, how did it like? Can you tell me so you have this group of people, you're like-minded, I'm sure you hang out, you share your produce, maybe you share your ideas and all of this. How does it become you can how does somebody say, okay, we have a lot of concerns, we have a lot of people here, how does that happen?
Well, we had a really strong leader who, it wasn't me, but I don't know if I don't want to give him up on here, but we had meetings. We met
Mhm.
every 2 weeks. It took us 6 months
Mhm.
to like just vent and
Mhm.
process what was going on at the federal level. And then we decided, well, let's do something. So
Mhm.
we originally started with, we had a renewable energy fair,
Okay.
and that was in 2018. And because climate changed, the words climate change had been so politicized, we
Mhm.
decided, okay, let's jump over that and let's focus on something positive. Renewable energy is a
Ah,
positive thing that is
smart.
happening, and that it's not too divisive.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
we had an electric vehicle show at the Renewable Energy Fair. And then we had a lot of people vendors who were doing residential solar, geothermal, heat
Mm.
pumps, some state representatives who knew how you could get funding to even just like get your house to where you're losing heat in your house. Do you
Okay.
need to insulate? What about your windows?
Oh, yeah, and
So
inventory, right? They
yeah,
come and they say, "Here," don't they take a thermal photo and say, "Oh, it's
yeah.
leaking out all over."
They can see where it's leaking out, and so we had that at Casanova College,
Mhm.
and we had a great turnout. And from there, we just every year just would have an event. We also had speakers at that event. We had local homeowners who had put solar on their house, who
Mhm.
had geothermal, heat on their house, and they talked about that at a panel. Just I think it's so powerful when you have local people who've done stuff. That same thing with the
Mhm.
electric cars. Like, all the EVs are privately owned. And it's just people who, yeah, I bought my car in 2019, and here's the ups and the downs of it. Here's
Ah,
where the
personal.
chargers were getting more and more, and you can drive on the New York State Thruway and pretty much stop and get your car charged. Whereas, back in 2018, you had to be really careful
Yeah,
about where you were
get
going and not
stranded.
get stuck somewhere. But I think for people wanting to do something, just like look around, and see what's going on in your community. Who's selling? Go to the farmers markets.
Mm.
Who's selling locally grown? What restaurants are sourcing local? All that kind of stuff. That's how you meet people that
Mhm.
that really want to do something.
So, because you're not this formal organization, how does it work? Because I'm picturing a lot of people who, some of whom may be retired, and they're probably pretty smart. And how does it go in terms of how are we making decisions? How often are we going to meet? Like what is the structure of this given that you have not borrowed a prefab, right? You're making this up as you go
Right.
along. How
Well,
does that work?
we have a steering committee. And so we don't have a president, a vice president, a treasurer. We have four people, two men, two women that are on the steering committee, and we meet like once a month
Mhm.
and kind of chit chat about what would be, the next big thing that we'd want to get going, and then we have meet like for Earth Day. We have the Earth Day committee, so we have about 20 people who help plan that event. And we start meeting in like February, and then different people do take on different tasks. We get the venue, you just like program coordination. And then we keep our eyes peeled from the group about what are the issues coming up. Like
Mm.
last year, I think it was, um, there was a, oh my goodness, that's my husky.
Oh my gosh,
Sorry, she hears me yakking away, and
that's so
she's like,
funny. We love our dogs, Mary. You're
"I'm
fine.
sorry."
No, it's all dogs all the time here.
Yeah, same here. So we saw that there was a group going around giving presentations on the hemlock woolly addle adelgid. If
Mm,
I'm saying it right,
some bad bugs.
addle addleage,
Okay. Oh
and
boy.
it's an
Okay.
invasive species.
Yes.
It's coming into our area.
Mm,
And so we had the people who from a nonprofit called Prism, which
okay.
is a group over in the Finger Lakes, and
Okay.
they're going around giving presentations and just getting people, volunteers to like check
Mhm.
on hemlocks and see if this
Mm,
invasive where is this invasive species. And
mhm.
so then you go on their website and put in where you saw it and
Ah,
whatnot.
I see. So it's
And
very citizen oriented.
yeah, and so they're collecting data on this so that they can get out in front of it. And they have some interventions. I can't remember the name of that. Like you
Mm,
can like spray your trees or whatever.
yes.
But we have our 8 acres I mentioned is primarily hemlock.
Uh-oh.
So my husband Van and I were very interested, and we got, so we went to it, and we keep our eye on, we haven't had any here, but we keep our eye on our hemlocks, and a lot of people in UCAN are doing
Mm,
that as well. So, but back to your question, we also have we do a little bit of fundraising, just like asking people, do you want to donate? And then we have a fiscal agent.
mm,
That's a big thing for a group like this. If you're not going to be a nonprofit, then you need to get a fiscal agent. And so ours is the local Kisnovia area community development organization.
okay.
And so they have like a little line in their budget that our money goes into, and then we can pay for any costs that are affiliate, buying the trees, getting the sleeves,
The
paying for the,
details. Oh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
logistics. Yeah. Hi, Zesties. Well, we all know that exercise is really important, especially as we age. Some say it's the most important thing you can do to stay healthy. But many of us find that it's really easy to start an exercise routine, but it's hard to keep it up. That's why we see so many exercise bikes and machines being used as clothes hangers come March. Am I the only one who has bought a gym membership that turned out to be a total waste of money? At this point in life, I want to do things that are good for me, but also fun. You'll never find me at a class called boot camp because life is hard enough. And that is why I love my rebounder. What is a rebounder? Well, it's a mini trampoline that has so many health benefits, it's kind of crazy. It turns out that gently jumping up and down provides excellent benefits to our whole body. It helps clear lymphatic drainage, which is basically toxic waste in our bodies. And get this, NASA uses it to help their astronauts reacclimate when they've been up in space. And I'm not even going to go into the improvements in complexion and mood. Let's just say it's hard to be in a bad mood when you're jumping to your favorite music. It's like your own dance party. But if you're interested in a rebounder, please take my advice. Don't buy a cheap one. They can actually be dangerous. I would recommend the one I have, which is a Needak rebounder. It's Needak, and mine's going on about 20 years old. I use it with light weights, and I've actually used it to train for the senior tennis games, as well as my Camino walk in Spain. And it's also great to use in upstate New York in the winter when the weather is awful, which is pretty often. So right now you can get a free rebounder cover at Needak if you use the coupon code Zestful. So again, Needak, Needak. And if you have any questions, check out my YouTube demo. It's my most watched YouTube to date. So happy jumping, and I would love to hear how you like it. I
Yeah.
wanted to switch gears for just a second, Marion. You're retired. We'll put that in quotes for a moment. How has being involved in these grassroots initiatives, how do you think it's affected your aging?
Well, I think it's crucial to stay involved. And I
Mm.
remember my mom in her later years told me one time, never stop moving.
Mhm.
You know, she ran a restaurant and she went all the way to the end until she couldn't anymore. And she's like, you got to stay active.
Mhm.
So, and I know some people stay active through exercise and um, just like social gatherings. But in my case, it's been through being involved in community organizations. I'm someone who needs a mission. And during COVID, I was like, at first it was kind of a novelty, right? I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is kind of cool. I'm just hanging out. But then towards the end, I'm like, oh my God, I got to do something.
Yeah.
I got to do more than, I mean, I like being out in the garden. My perennial garden looked great during COVID because I was out there constantly.
Yeah, of
But,
course.
it, so we still had UCAN that started in 2018,
Mhm.
all through COVID. And
Right.
we did everything on Zoom. And at that point. But then, as the pandemic kind of lifted, I actually got a little part time gig at our local library. And so I'm doing program and events there. And a lot of it, I was thinking about a lot of the ones I've done, and a lot of them, it all revolves around nature. We've got a pollinator garden going, which
Oh my
was
god.
already there, but we're, sprucing that up, putting up signage. We just had a workshop on bluebirds and making bluebird
Oh,
houses.
wow.
And we've got a lady who's a wildlife rehabilitator who I think would be great for you to interview. But
I'm sure.
she has raptors like
Oh,
it. So
wow.
she's bringing the raptors over to show the
Oh,
kids,
boy.
So anything that can connect people with nature and reading, the love of reading. One of my, I have a background in adult literacy.
Mhm.
So, I was the uh, adult literacy trainer for Literacy Volunteers of America for a number of
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
So it all kind of, if anybody thinks back on what they've done and what they can continue to do,
Mhm.
it all kind of clicks together. It's
I hear that. What's been meaningful for you, even as that little girl on the stream,
yeah,
this is a we see this going through your entire life. What's important to you? What makes your heart, happy?
right.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, going forward, so I have three grandchildren under five,
Mhm.
and helping instill a love of nature in them,
Mhm.
and my son, I mean, he has it, So
He
um,
has it.
he just bought a place, and it's got a bunch of acreage, and there's a
Mm.
pond, and
Oh,
there, yeah. So we got some of the bluebird houses. We're going to give them to my grandson for his birthday, and then help him build them and put them up and stuff
mm.
like that. That's just little stuff, but that makes an impact
You're
when you think
planting
back
the
on it.
seeds, right? You're
Yeah,
really planting the seeds. Yep,
yeah,
beautiful. Oh my goodness, Mary. Well, I so appreciate talking to you about this, and the grassroots part I think is so important because many of us are think just wringing our hands and saying, I don't necessarily have time to be part of this huge organization, or maybe I don't want to write a huge check to the Nature Conservancy or whatever, and I live in this community. What can I do? And it sounds like there's a lot of flexibility. You can do a little or a lot.
right. And I mean, as a citizen, you go to the Earth Day Fair. Do you check out
Mhm.
some of the? Right now, I'm taking a course with Cooperative Extension on foraging. So,
Mm.
the first class I
Mhm.
went to, we did ramp leaks.
Oh,
And
tell my favorite. I just baked
yeah.
the sourdough bread and I put ramps in it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So and I have nettles in the woods here, and
Mm.
those are edible. And so the next class I'm going to is this Saturday. So I'm excited to see what'll be next.
You're
I
a
don't
learner.
know yet. Yeah, yeah.
You're a
Be a
learner.
lifelong learner and just um, look around. Like I said before, there's stuff going on. It doesn't matter where you are, and
Mhm.
pick up litter. I mean, for the very
It's a
least,
good
at the
place to
very least.
start.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. Oh,
Get
Mary,
the
where can
plastic out of your life if you
Oh,
possibly can,
amen on that.
Yeah.
Mary, where can people find out more about UCAN and take a look at the offerings here?
Well, we have a website, of
Okay.
course. It's unitedclimateaction.org.
United.
And that has a lot of information, from just background information, how we started,
Mhm.
to, pictures from the fair we just had. I mean, just go on there and look around. That's very local to our area. But if anyone is, out in the world, I mean, just just Google it.
Mhm.
Google, how can I help the environment, and see what comes up. Um,
Mhm. Sounds
so
so
yeah,
sounds beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being with me this morning. It's such a pleasure to be able to know you and know what you're doing in town, and uh, it's just I feel very fortunate to have gone to that Earth Day
yeah.
celebration and run into such a group of powerhouses.
Well, and we will keep you posted
Okay.
on what more is coming up.
Lovely. I'll look forward to that. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends. Our theme song is All I Did Was Wait for You by Kjartan Abel. Visit Kjartan-Abel, that's KJARTAN-Abel, ABEL.com to hear more of Kjartan's work. And our technical director is Stephen Litweiler. And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest. See you then.